Hey y'all, it's Amanda, and we are here ready to paint something this week. And what we're going to do is use what we learned last time when we did our little samples of cotton, and we're going to create an entire painting of a cotton arrangement in a vase. Now, what I have here is an old cabinet door that I painted with some chalk paint and some acrylic paint and just made it look kind of old and chippy. And I've got my outline here of what my arrangement's going to look like. You don't have to have a cabinet door. You can use a canvas. You can use a piece of the canvas paper like we talked about last time. You can use, if you have some kind of reclaimed wood or anything with a flat surface that you would like to use, you can do that. You just need to go ahead and paint your background however you would like for it to be painted. You can do a solid color. Basically, to do this, you just paint it all one color. Then you take your palette knife and choose some other colors. Like here I've got this orange and some blue, and I've got some white. So then I would just make some streaks of that in there. I made some streaks of it down the sides here. I let that dry, and then I took my palette knife, dipped it back in the gray again, and then just went over it in a few spots. And backgrounds are something that we'll work on at another time. But right now we're just going to focus on our arrangement here. So when I do flower arrangements, most of the time what I end up doing is I take a brush, a rounded tip brush, and I use one color, and I kind of trace out or sketch with paint basically what my arrangement's going to look like. So here I've already kind of sketched out my vase, and you can do yours in whatever shape you would like to. It could just be, straight across here and come down to a point. It could be the opposite, big at the bottom and come up to a point here. It looks sort of like a milk jug here that I've got traced out. And then I just took the white and I made some random little sticks for our cotton pieces to be. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to use my palette knife to create most of the painting, but I've got a little bit of this turquoise and white left over in my palette that I'm going to use, and I'm going to go ahead before it completely dries, and I'm going to go over and start with my vase here. So I'm going to take my palette knife and see how this is it's not mixed totally. It's still got a swirl or a marbled look to it. But I'm going to start and just go down and trace kind of along the inside edge here. Do the same thing on this side. And I'm painting over my stems that I put in there, but it's okay. We can add in the idea of them later. So I couldn't decide what kind of glass I was going to have here. If it was going to be a clear base or what I might decide. But I decided to go with this turquoise color. Okay. And then back here, around the edge of the rim here, we got to put some color in there too. Okay. And then just wipe our palette knife off. And we're going to start with the brown, I think, this time. Now, last time we started making our little puffs of cotton with the gray first. And we could do that, but our stems are actually going to be, some of them will be back behind those little areas. So we're going to start with the stems this time. I just squirt out a little bit of paint, and I'm going to keep using this knife throughout the whole process. So I'm just going to take the tip and just kind of go over some of these places where I've already made the stem areas. I'm just pulling straight down. I'm not getting a whole lot of paint on my knife. And cotton stems are stiff and stick-like. There's not very much curvature, so I'm trying to make it as stiff as I can. Let me add a few more little places to fill it out. But this part is going to be all up to you, however many you want to create. And I'm going to just lightly pull these down into my jar. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to work on some gray and start making my little puffy areas. Put some gray right here. And if you remember how we did this before, since I already have my stem here, then that means I'm going to need to make my cotton in these little areas on the ends of each one. But you can also do some in the middle here. So I'm going to just start randomly putting a few here and there. You need to remember that these are not going to be as big as the ones that we did on our paper to practice. These are going to be smaller and layered, so there's going to be some that are bigger than others, so some may come out in front and some will be back behind. But just basically put a little gray cloud at the tip of all of your stems that you have there. And then we'll come back. Got a little bit of brown in that, but it's okay. We'll just go over it with white anyway. But we'll come back and put some in between here too in just a minute. Okay, so we may have one right here. And let's put one right here. So you want to look at it and try to balance it out and make sure it's filled up without being too crowded. Put one here. And I think I'm going to put another one right here. And get some more gray. Maybe one. Maybe one right in here. A little smaller one. Okay, and while I've got some gray, I'm going to put a little bit of gray around the edges of my jar here. So I'm just going to pull straight down and outline a little bit on this side here and around the rim here. And come down this area right here. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my brown and I'm going to make these little areas right here with my brown on each one of these. Okay. So I've got a little brown. I'm just going to start right here. And these, they don't all need to be straight up and down like this. You need to give it some variance. And let's say this one may be turned this way a little bit. So we might do this one like this. You see? And then the next one may be turned a little bit more that way. This one is like this. Some may be opened up a little bit more than others. Some are going to be smaller than others. And there's some you may need to add a little bit more of your stem to. Some may be a little more closed, like that. Just try to make each one unique. I'm going to have to add a little bit more stem to that one because it didn't look like he was sitting just right. one more down here. So I'm going to turn him. That way. Alright, so now all of our little puppy balls have their stem, and the next color that we're going to need is, let's go with the bronze yellow or the yellow ochre, whichever one you have. Let's see. And now we're just going to go back over everything we just did with a little bit of this yellow on our palette knife. And just barely touch it in a few spots. Not a whole lot of yellow, because this is going to play like a highlighter to really make those areas stand out. The last thing we'll do is make the white areas of the actual cotton. And you can see this is a pretty quick process. I am not a patient painter. I like to be able to start on something and finish it all at once if possible. And being a mom with kids at home, when I started doing this, they were much younger than they are now. But I wanted to be able to start on something and be able to be done with it and feel like I'd accomplished something. So that's why I like acrylic paint the best, and that's just one of the characteristics of my method of painting, is that it's kind of a quick, all at once, wet on wet kind of painting, which helps me to blend colors too, because if you wait for everything to dry before you try to add some different colors, then it's a little bit harder to blend them and get them to look the way that I want them to look. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit down here in these areas too. Get some brown and right there. Okay. So now we've got our stalks, and we've got the puffy little balls going there. So now that the gray has had a little bit of time to set a little bit, we can take our white and go back over them and fix that up. Now I'm gonna turn my whole painting upside down. This is a little trick that'll help you to get in some tight spaces with your palette knife. Since it's got a point this way, I can get in here with the white like this rather than trying to pull it down to a point. It's already got the point, so we're going to go with it this way. Alright, so we're just going to load a good bit of white and start putting it on just like this. Not too round and too carefully, just randomly. And be sure to leave some of the gray down there at the bottom. In between the white and the stem, we need to have some gray there for a shadow. So what we've done is we basically painted in our shadows first, and now we're going back over it with our light. And some of that gray is going to mix in a little bit as you do this, but it's okay because that's just going to give it a little bit more depth and shadowy areas. There's a little tiny one down in there. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger up here. And don't push down. Do it very lightly as you move with your palette knife. Sorry about that. I just kicked my camera stand. Okay. I'm just moving around each individual one, and they're all going to be completely different little creatures. We just keep going and going until we get done with the white. Then we'll turn it back around and see if we need to touch up anything or straighten up any areas that we couldn't see because we're working upside down, which is very possible. So we're going to keep going here. Got two more. And you can go as slowly as you need to. You can pause the video and work on it at your own pace. Do it however you need to do it. And so you got one more right there, it looks like. So, let's see. Got this little area right there. Okay, let's turn it around. And now we got our little container of cotton. Just looking good. I may put a little bit more white in a few spots, but overall, I think it looks really good. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of white right here on my vase. And a little bit right here on the very edge of this part here. I'm also going to put a few little streaks of white in with the stems in a few places. If you'll turn your palette knife to the side and scrape it in the paint, then it'll give you a little bit of a more defined line that you can make. Don't want to put too much white because that will take away from the dark stems. So we're going to put a little bit. Okay, and that is how you create an arrangement of cotton. So I hope this was helpful to you, and if you have any ideas or questions or want some more information about anything that we did, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll see you next time.